Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the We Run on Coffee podcast. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Arika.
And I feel like we're finally about to get back on track with our schedule.
True.
Do you think so?
It's been a mess. I don't know. I don't want to jinx it. I'll knock wood right now.
But I feel like we're finally getting back into the swing of things like this week. It's been a couple of weeks since we've talked, me and Arika, for the podcast. But we did see each other last weekend. So
and I tried not to ask you stuff in real life. I was like, don't ask her about the half marathon because I was like, I'll save it for the pod.
I know, but we can start our catch up with that. So last week, me and Arika saw each other in Ohio. I went home for Natalie, my sister-in-law's baby shower, and I got to see Arika and I got to see a bunch of people, but it was a really long weekend. Yeah. And when Arika saw me at the baby shower, I had 9 hours of sleep in 2 days and I was exhausted.
She was like a shell of a human, I swear. I was like, I think Marissa's so tired. I could just tell by looking at you. I was like, I think she's wrecked.
I was so tired and I was just so overwhelmed being in a room with so many people.
It was a big baby shower.
It was a huge baby shower. The invites, there were 71 people that said they were coming, and it wasn't that many people when we ended up getting there, but I had helped set up. I helped get Natalie ready for the shower. I had to get myself ready. We were staying 40 minutes outside of the town it was in. It was a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
It was a lot. But it was really fun to see everybody and just be able to come home and see Natalie before she has the baby.
I know, and the shower was so cute. I honestly really liked how they did the food. They had a lot of little snack cups basically, which that just sounds like little kid food, like snack cups, but little cups of fruit, little cups of charcuterie. It was so cute. I loved that. It was
very cute. Before we go too far into our catch-ups, what are you drinking, Arika?
Okay, I'm so excited. So we're doing a midday episode, you guys. This never happens.
Yeah,
so
it's like 5 p.m.
Let's seize the moment. Yeah, 5 p.m. It feels like too late for coffee, too early for drinking, but we're drinking. I actually didn't know because Angelo brought it in and put it in the koozie and I didn't see it, but I'm having a Cider Boys Cranberry Raz. These are so good.
That sounds so good.
I don't know if it's in season anymore or if Cranberry Raz was a holiday flavor because we only saw it around Christmas, but they're so good. They're my favorite. So that's what I'm drinking. What are you drinking?
So I have a drink planned for the next episode, so I didn't know if I wanted a different alcoholic drink for this one, but I got a Vizzy out of the fridge, and I've had these for so long, probably over a year.
Oh my God,
they're so old, but it is a orange cream pop flavor.
And let's rate our drinks. I feel like that'll be fun. I'm going to say that my Cider Boys Cranberry Raz is a 10. It's my favorite Cider Boys flavor. And I do think it's seasonal because I'm thinking I don't think I've seen it. So I'm going to give it a 10. It's honestly so good. I love it.
I think that mine is it's a 7. I've definitely had better.
That's fair.
I like different ciders better than this. Yeah. And this isn't this was a novelty one that I wanted to try. Okay. And it was a summer flavor last year when I got it. So it's funny. It's weird because it's March. Well, it's almost April when we're recording this, but it's just it's not the time of year. It's not the vibe, but it's still good. It tastes kind of like a watered down creamsicle, which is not the best. I don't want it to taste really watered down, but it's still good enough.
I love that. That's honestly really fun.
Yeah. Okay. Do one of your catch-ups because I know that I'm going to monopolize the time talking about the half marathon.
That's fine. I only have one other one. So my first one was going to be Nat and Kaden, and my second one is Boston. So I officially have been to Boston by the time you guys are listening to this. We've talked about it for 4 weeks, I feel like, on the podcast. It just kept coming up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was so fun. We went Wednesday through Sunday with my family and Angelo, and we saw the Dropkick Murphys hometown St. Patrick's Day show. We got some good food. That's pretty much it. We walked around, did some sightseeing. I actually really want to go back in the summer. I think it would be a vibe. It was really cold.
I bet.
Honestly, 40 degrees every day. It was super cold. But it was fun. Angelo got a lobster roll. I did not.
And I was going to ask what kind of food you had because I feel going there for such a Irish themed thing, I feel like you should have gotten I don't know, a roast beef sandwich. I don't really know. Yeah.
I don't even know either.
I'm saying that, and my whole family, my whole mom's side of the family is extremely Irish, and I'm I don't even know an Irish food to throw at you. Did you have a potato?
No. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think. I know on the way there, we stopped in Pennsylvania and spent the night at an Airbnb, which was so nice. It was in the mountains. It was awesome. And there I had a dairy-free pizza that we picked up at Walmart because we knew there wasn't going to be anything. So that was my first time having a dairy-free frozen pizza, I will say. I think it was the Daya cheese.
Oh yeah.
And it was just okay. I wouldn't get it again.
Okay.
And then we drove all the way to Boston, and I'm trying to think about like things we ate. Angela had a lobster roll when we went to this like food hall, like a market kind of thing, and I had a burrito there from like this, like, oh my gosh, the man at the counter, he was like, hola bonita, like, what can I get for you, pretty girl? And it was so funny. But I got a burrito there. It was pretty good. And then that's it. Like, have you ever heard of the restaurant Yard House?
Yeah, we have one right next to our apartment.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So we don't have one here at all in Columbus or anything. Like the closest is Cincinnati. And so I'd never been, but I've seen it and I've heard it was good. So I was like, I kind of want to try that. It was walking distance, like across from our hotel. So we went there and got, during happy hour, I don't know if you've ever gone, but during happy hour, they have half-priced apps and pizzas. It was so cheap. Like the appetizers were like $5. And me and Angelo bought dinner for my family, and just like we just got all appetizers, and it was awesome. And then drinks.
It's a way to go, honestly.
It was so lit. I was like, this is awesome. I was surprised because I was like, we're gonna buy everyone dinner because my mom was paying for a lot of stuff too. So I was like, let's buy everyone dinner, and it was so much less than I expected because it was half price. I was like, frick yeah.
And if you don't know what Yard House it is, it's like it's basically just bar food, but they have like a really kind of all over the place menu. They have like a bunch of different it's kind of like Cheesecake Factory but like scaled down.
Not like, as bad as that, but there were a lot of options. I think we got like a pizza, they got some firecracker shrimp, we got little burger sliders, all kinds of stuff. I don't know, but it was really good. I honestly really liked it. I definitely want to go back.
Yeah, and they're also known for having the largest draft beer selection
of
a restaurant.
Yeah.
So they don't just have beer, they also have ciders on draft.
Yeah, I got a margarita and it was fire, actually.
Ooh, I highly, highly, highly recommend if you ever get to go back, you should get the Ace pineapple cider on draft. It's so good.
I've had that somewhere else. I don't remember where, but I think I have had that before.
I've definitely told you about it before, so it might have been off my recommendation.
I don't know if it was pineapple or if they have other flavors, but I know I've had an Ace cider before. But
yeah,
cool.
The pineapple's the best.
Okay, love. But yeah, that was Boston. It was pretty fun. And if you guys want to know more about it, watch my YouTube video. It's going up. It's already up as you're listening to this. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So I'm excited to hear about the marathon and all the things.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to monopolize too much time, so I'll just talk about the half marathon, and I'll talk about anything else in the next episode when we kind of catch up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So the half marathon was the day before in St. Patty's, so Arika was in Boston living it up.
I was so close to you. It was so weird, actually.
I know. Well, you were still 8 hours away.
Super far, but like on the map, it looked way closer. You know what I mean?
You were actually farther away there than you are in Ohio.
That's actually nuts.
But it looks
it
that.
Literally looked so much closer. I was like, Marissa's right there and I'm right here.
Yeah. But it was on March 16th, and me and my friend Hunter, we ran it together, all except for like the last 2 miles because I'll get into that part.
Ooh, okay.
But the whole thing was really fun, honestly.
That's awesome.
I think that it was really cool. Like, I've never ran a sanctioned race before, so it was really cool to like feel the energy of everybody else being so excited and like being there with Hunter and like standing at the like start line and like the big corral pit of everybody standing there getting ready to start. That was a lot of like good emotional energy to get started, and Kyle and my parents were able to stand right on the other side of the start line, right up against like the barricade, so they were able to like yell for us as we were like getting started, and that was really good. The first 5 miles went by so easy.
Yay.
Which was crazy because we started out, my normal starting pace when I run is around 11:30 to 11:45 minute miles.
Okay.
It's pretty slow just because I want to get started slow and then I can build up my speed as I go because I want to be able to like keep my endurance and keep going. So we started out our first mile. Let me pull it up to make sure I have the facts straight, but I'm pretty sure my first mile was in 10 minutes and 16 seconds.
Damn, that's way faster than your usual.
A lot faster than I was expecting. So I was like, whoa, Hunter, we're getting started like real fast and everything. And I was nervous, but she was like, just listen to your body, like it's gonna be okay. I actually lied. It was 10 minutes and 48 seconds, but still that's about 45 seconds to a minute like faster than I expected. So we like kept up that pace. We got a lot quicker, and then by mile 3 our pace was 10 minutes and 10 seconds.
Damn.
And at mile 5, that was my fastest mile. It was in 10 minutes and 6 seconds.
Dang. Oh my God. That's crazy.
We were booking it,
flying.
Honestly. We didn't even know. And then I knew that miles like 6 through 9, somewhere in there, it was going to be the most difficult.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where it was going to hit me, that it was going to be really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being mile 7 was like when I started to feel it was a little bit hard, because that's about halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, mile 7, let's take it a little slower. Like, I'm starting to feel like my body catching up to like all the adrenaline that we had for the first like half of this. And she was like, okay, cool, me too. Like, I'm ready to chill on this mile.
Yeah.
And at that point, our goal was to just finish with every mile sub 11 minutes, because we were doing great up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, great, awesome, this is a good goal. So we get to mile 7, go through that. We're on mile 8. And Arika, when I tell you, the last half a mile of mile 8, so like the second half of mile 8, we went straight up a hill.
Oh,
for
that
sucks. A whole half a mile. Oh. It was horrible.
I'd be done. I'd be so mad.
It was so bad. Everybody around me was like screaming. We were like, what the heck? We know that these course makers knew this was going to be on mile 8. Like, everybody that was running was so upset by it.
Oh my God.
And me and Hunter were determined to finish the whole thing without walking. So we ran up that hill.
Damn. Is this all asphalt, like street?
Yeah, it was all road running.
Damn.
So we ran up that hill for a half a mile.
That's nuts.
And we completed mile 8 in 11 minutes and 16 seconds.
Damn,
so
that's still pretty good, I feel like.
I know.
Yeah.
We slowed down a little bit, but it was okay.
Yeah.
On the other side of that hill, Arika, I had the worst cramp ever. I couldn't take deep breaths. I could not move. Like, I was trying to stretch my side, but I couldn't, because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Hunter had to take my arm, put it over my head so that I could like breathe, and she had to do that for like a good probably 1/10 to a quarter of a mile.
Yeah. And you guys are still running?
Yeah.
Holy
we did
crap.
not stop.
That's nuts.
And I was finally able to start breathing again, just in time to get to mile 9, where Owen and Mara were waiting for us. Yeah. And they start screaming, and they're running down the sidewalk along like side of us. They're screaming. They're like, let's go. We'll see you at the finish line. And it was so fun. And I was like feeling a little bit better, because I had like been hyped up at that point. But mile 9 was the slowest mile that we had, which was still good. It was 11:35.
Okay.
So it was still like a lot better than we had expected at that point. So then I started feeling a little better. My cramp was gone. I was like, we're more than halfway through. Right. We've only got like close. 4 miles left. Yeah. That's easy. Like, a 4-mile train was an easy run at the end of like my training. Right. So it's all good. We're fine. So we keep going, and we're going down this hill right at the end of mile 9. And we weren't expecting to see my parents or Kyle at all during like the race, because Kyle had texted me around mile 5, and he was like, you're going way faster than we expected, because my tracker was messed up. It had said that I was like 2 miles ahead of where I actually was.
Oh shit.
And so they were like, we're not going to be able to like find you. We're just going to meet you at the end. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I'd rather have everybody at the end. Like, that doesn't matter. But we were going down a hill this time, on mile 9, and we see my parents and Kyle standing on a corner, and they're screaming for us. And so that was like right as we hit mile 10. So that was a really good like boost of confidence. Like 3/4 of the way through, we only had 3 miles left. Yeah. So that felt a lot better. And then we get past mile 11. Mile 11 was the farthest I'd ever gone. And I was like, this is great. I made it to the past where I've been. I can do this. It's only 2.1 miles. Right. I was like, I got this. I start running a little quicker for a half a mile, and I was like, my body hurts. Yeah. Like, it didn't even hurt. It was just like my body was getting depleted. And I was like, there was not hardly any water stations. Like, I didn't take anything to eat with me, and I'd been used to like eating every so often on my runs. And so I was just relying on Gatorade and water. Yeah. And so that wasn't enough calories to like sustain me, and I should have definitely brought like a snack or something. I didn't want to be too like weighed down, and I didn't want to take any of the gels that they had along the course, because I'd never used gels before in training, so I didn't know how it would mess with my stomach or anything, and I didn't want to like, they say don't try anything new on game day or anything new on race day, so I was scared. But at mile 11, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so hard. Yeah. So Hunter at that point was the exact opposite of me. She was
wow.
like,
she had it in her.
Well, she said if she slowed down, she was going to have to stop and she wasn't going to finish. And if I sped up, I was not going to finish.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stayed at like my own little pace, and she ended up getting ahead of me a little bit. So we ran about everything except like the last half a mile, I would say, together. She was always
pretty damn good. Yeah.
I know. She was always a couple steps ahead of me, but I wasn't like, it's not like we were running side by side like we had for the rest of it after mile 11. So we start getting to this part, and then at the very end, it was about the last mile, this guy was running with Hunter for a little bit because he was right ahead of us, and I could hear them talking a little bit, and there was a remix challenge for this race where you could run the 5K and then immediately go and run the half marathon.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Nuts.
But he had done that, and so he was like doing this race, and he was running with Hunter, like giving her a little bit of motivation, and I like heard it, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. And then she ran ahead, and he dropped back with me and ran with me for like about the last half a mile. And when we were about, I would say 500 feet from the finish line, he was like, you got this, I'm gonna slow down, finish on your own. And it was
that's so
sweet.
Awesome. That is really
cool. I know.
I love
and
that.
So he like ran with me the last little bit, and it was just really motivating to like see him like there with me. And then I was able to finish. Me and Hunter got our medals, and I meant to bring my medal down here to show you, but I'll show you after. And I finished the race. My official time was 2 hours, 23 minutes and 5 seconds.
Woo!
And my goal was to just finish in under 2.5 hours. So I cut off 7 minutes. That's more than I was expecting.
Yeah, that's so lit.
And according to my watch, my average pace was 10 minutes and 43 seconds.
Damn, that's honestly so great.
But my watch also says that I ran 13.38 miles, not 13.1. So I think that my speed was actually a little bit slower than that, but I don't know.
That's so wild. Oh my God, you guys did it. I loved seeing the pictures. Your mom posted so fast. I was like, love to see it. Thank you, Beth. Feeding me.
I know. My phone wasn't working downtown because there was so many people. There was 12,800 people that ran this race, I'm pretty sure.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and when I tell you there was not a free spot on the route, like it was, you were running with people the whole time.
It was surprising, actually. I've never seen one like that.
I know, there was just so many people, so it was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. That was so cool. I loved the debrief here.
Yeah, but that was everything that I had.
I loved the signs too that your friends made. Oh my God, that was so cute.
I know, it was so cute.
Adorable. I was like getting a little emo. I was like, this is so adorable.
Maybe you should run one.
Maybe someday. Maybe I should run a 5K first.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe a real 5K race.
Yeah, like a sanction. I know. I've done the breast cancer one, but we always just do the walk. We do the 5K walk. But I love, like you were saying, the race energy. You can't beat it. Like, it's so awesome. No. I love it. Even when Angela ran the Susan G. Komen breast cancer race last year, I think, or 2 years ago. I don't know. But he ran the 5K so goddamn fast. I was shocked. He ran in like 22 minutes or something, 23 minutes. I don't know. I screened for him at the start. I'm like, whoa. I'm talking to AJ. I'm like, holy shit, AJ, he's going to finish. We have to hurry to get to the end. And I was like, that energy just gets you going, though. People are screaming. There's music. Like, it's so fun. And I love when they use the trackers and they'll be like, great job, Marissa. And they can like see your information. It's so cute.
I know. I love it.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, what a good catch up for this week.
Yeah. Obsessed. Are you ready to talk about this book?
I'm ready, you guys. Welcome to the book club. If you haven't been here before, every quarter of the year we read a book and then we have a book club episode. We give you guys like a little rundown about what the book's about. So if you haven't read it, do not fear. You can still listen. Marissa's going to tell us all about like the actual story and what happened. And then we discuss. And it's super fun. So you guys should join us for our next one.
Yes. I agree. And we even talked to Kyle and Angelo because
yeah,
Kyle's not a big reader, but I know Angelo reads a little bit, just not our book club books.
Yeah.
And we asked them if they still like these, and they said that they do.
I was
they
so
don't
surprised.
Read the books.
Yeah.
So
I was shocked to hear that. Angelo also, honestly, not really a reader at all. Like, he wants to read, but I feel like he just never really gets around to it. And he also does more audiobook than book, I think. But yeah, I was really surprised to hear that people still like these episodes, even if they don't read the book. I'm so happy about it, though, because I'm like,
I know,
love.
I am too.
Yeah. So this is Marissa's book club. I should have said that, but we switch off on like who picks the book. So this is a Marissa's pick. Ooh, at the end of the year, we should do like our top picks from the last 2 years of book clubs.
I was going to ask you if we should do a little rating at the beginning before we even get into the summary, because I think that that's not something that we did last year, but I would be interested to hear it in this one.
Love. Okay. What do you want me to rate it out of?
I guess just give me your Goodreads rating, because that's the only one that we've been on so far.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, as you guys are listening, so we're also on bookclubs.com. So we have an official book club called We Run on Coffee. I don't know if it's podcast or not. Book club. You guys can find us. It's our logo.
Literally just on it. I should have looked.
I don't know. But you can rate the books there too. So if you guys read it with us, join our book club. You'll be in it. You'll get a notification email every time we pick a new book. And then you can also rate the books out of 10 on there. So that's really fun. But for today, we have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I actually don't know if a man or a woman wrote this. I don't know.
It was a woman. Okay, I looked at the back of the book today.
Did you? Yeah. Does yours have a picture?
Yeah.
Mine doesn't.
Not on the back, but in the back.
Oh, look at the... Thank you. I'm going to look right now. Oh, right. I think I did see this. Oh, wow. She's not what I expected. Oh, Victoria. Okay. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. I'll read the freaking book. Rate it. So this morning I was telling Marissa, and we both finished the book today. So I feel like that honestly is a good thing, because it's kind of fresh. And I don't feel like I'm going to forget as much. But this morning when I woke up, you guys, I was only 75% done with the book. Only 3/4, and I finished it today.
Do you remember when we read Every Summer After, and I read the entire book almost that day?
Literally. I pulled a you today, which is ironic, because it's always our opposite picks. It's like the person who whatever. But
I liked that book. I just didn't have time to read it leading up to it.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, I'm going to shut up now. My rating for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, if I'm going to rate it on Goodreads, I'm probably going to give it a 3, which is kind of harsh, I know, but I feel like, I guess that is a 7. No, that's a 6 out of 10. I wanted to have a 7 out of 10. I would give it 3.5 if I could. That's what I'll say. Okay. I'd give it 3.5 on Goodreads if I could. On book clubs, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I feel like that's more accurate.
Okay. I gave it a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads.
Oh my God, that's so exciting though.
And I think that I would give it a 9 out of 10 on book clubs, but I'm not exactly sure what I would do to improve it. I just think that I'm scared to give anything a 10. Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember. Actually, as you go through the summary, I'll check on book clubs and see if we've given anything a 10 yet. Because I'm actually curious. I'm not sure.
I might have, just being like so liberal with my 10
so willy-nilly.
but
that's fair.
I'm scared to give anything a 10 because it makes me think that I'm saying it's my favorite book of all time. And that makes me nervous because I want to be able to read books that are better in the future.
Right. I gave Jeanette McCurdy's book a 10.
Okay.
But I'm going to check yours because I don't know about yours. But yeah. Anyways,
okay,
we can dive in.
So I'm going to go through the summary. I found this one on Super Summary, which thank God, because I feel like the last couple of books that I've picked didn't have a summary on Super Summary. Yeah. And it was so difficult for me to find a good summary of some of these books. True. But this one is actually a good one.
I'm glad.
So I'm going to start. It says, in 1714, in the French village of Villon-sur-Sarthe, 23-year-old Addie LaRue is to be married to a widower with 3 children. Refusing to resign herself to a life of rural domesticity, Addie flees to the forest and prays to entities she calls the old gods. As the sun dips below the horizon, a dark-haired, green-eyed stranger appears to grant her wish, eternal life for as long as she wants it. On the day Addie becomes too tired or bored of existence to go on, she will surrender her soul to the stranger. After the stranger grants her request, Addie realizes there's a major caveat to her everlasting existence. Nobody remembers her. Even worse, she can neither forge new relationships nor rekindle old ones, because whenever she is separated from an individual for even a second, that person forgets her. Anytime Addie tries to write, draw, or otherwise leave a mark, her words then and her pictures disappear. Finally, although Addie cannot die, she still feels the pain associated with hunger, cold, and injury. The stranger, whom Addie later names Luke, expects her to surrender within a year and abandon the extraordinary hardship of her new life. For the first 12 months, she spends most nights on the streets of Paris, subsisting on stolen food and eking out meager wages as a sex worker. During her first winter since the transformation, she effectively freezes to death, only to wake up hours later in a cart weighed down by dead bodies. Addie, however, refuses to yield, and over time she learns to navigate the world without succumbing entirely to loneliness and the pain of starvation. The hardest part of Addie's existence is her inability to forge lasting human connections. The mornings after sex, when her paramours wake up and fail to recognize her, are the worst. She learns to cope by serving as a muse, and over the years she leaves her mark on the works of numerous famous artists and musicians. Meanwhile, Luke appears to Addie nearly every year on the anniversary of her curse. Each time he asks her to yield, and each time she refuses. As the decades and centuries pass, Addie comes to view Luke with something like affection, given that he is the only entity who remembers her. In 1952, the two begin a sexual relationship that lasts 3 decades until Addie breaks it off, convinced that the sex was merely a stratagem employed by Luke to convince her to surrender her soul. The rest of the narrative takes place in New York City in 2014. One day, a young bookseller named Henry remembers Addie after she steals a book from his shop. It is the first and only time any human remembers her in 3 centuries. Addie and Henry enjoy an idyllic relationship for a few weeks until she discovers the reason Henry remembers her. He, too, made a deal with Luke. Almost a year ago, Henry's then-girlfriend rejected his marriage proposal. In the throes of suicidal despair, he made a deal with Luke to be loved by everyone who meets him for a year. After the year ends, he will relinquish his life and soul to Luke. By the time Addie learns this, Henry only has 36 days left. On what should be the last night of Henry's life, Addie tells him that she made a new deal with Luke, and she will be Luke's exclusive romantic partner for as long as he will have her. In exchange, Henry will be permitted to live out his natural life. Addie and Henry never see each other again. Devastated, Henry copes by publishing Addie's life story as a book under the title The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Addie, meanwhile, secretly vows to drive Luke mad to the point that he no longer wants to be with her, even if it takes her centuries.
Phew. That was
I know, it seems like so much, but that's not... That doesn't even give away everything in the book.
Yeah, and you need all that background, I feel like, and then some.
Yeah.
It's honestly so complex. I feel like there was so much going on in the story.
I think so, too. Do you think that summary is, like, a good wrap-up of what happened?
I feel like it's good. I think the one thing I was thinking of is so Marissa was talking about this character that Addie named Luke, and they call him or it the stranger, or I don't know if he's supposed to be one of the old gods or not, but they also refer to him as the devil. So I just want to put that in because it's kind of like an evil character in a way. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain it, but like, yeah, I feel like that was a good summary.
I agree. So the first question that I have for you, I tried to put these in order of the book, and all of these questions come from the website that our book club is associated with, so bookclubs.com. And thank you for telling me about that, because there are some questions in the back of the book that are like discussion based questions, but they were horrible, if I'm being honest.
I didn't read them because I didn't know if you were going to choose them, so I was like, I'll leave a surprise. So I didn't read it, but that's interesting.
I highlighted a couple, and if we think we need a little bit more time added on, I can always grab the book and read some of them. But I just think that they were a little bit too philosophical questions, and like more of of course, book club questions are like, what did you think? And like, what did you think about this part and this part? But they were a bit too involved, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I appreciate that you scoped it out.
Yeah. So before we get into the book club questions, I did want to ask you, what genre would you say that this book was? Because I feel like there's a couple.
I think there could be a couple. I mean, there's an element of romance, but I don't know that I would call it a romance book. I think it's more of it's kind of like exploring other worlds in a way. And I did want to say during this episode, I don't know, have you ever read The Midnight Library?
I haven't.
Now that we read this, I think you're really going to like that. And for anyone listening, I wanted to say the same thing. Like, if you all want to read this, read it. Or if you want something similar, The Midnight Library is a good recommendation. I read it for work. And it's a similar thing where it explores, like, what happens basically in The Midnight Library. This is not a spoiler. It's in the very first chapter, just in the setup. But it's a place between life and death. So it's like the person hasn't yet died, but they're also not alive, and they're in the Midnight Library, and it's really cool. I'd highly recommend it. So I don't know what genre that book is, but I feel like it's the same. It's like exploring otherworldly. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I saw something saying that this is fantasy, but I also don't fully agree because
I don't either.
The only fantastical part of it is that she makes a deal with the quote unquote devil.
Yeah, nothing about the rest of it's very humanly and like relatively normal.
I agree. I saw a quote, and I'm not sure if it was a quote from a website that I was just browsing or if it was actually a quote from a book, but the entire premise of this story is to make you question what mark you leave on the world, even if you perceive that you are forgotten.
Yeah, I like that.
And we'll get into that question a little bit later, because that's not something that you realize until a little bit later in the book. Yeah. So let's get started from the beginning of the book.
Cool. Okay, I was just looking it up. Do you know what it said it was, by the way? The genre?
I don't know.
Okay, because I just looked it up and it's really not even really saying.
Yeah, it's a very interesting genre.
I feel bad that we can't give the listeners more, because I'm like, I don't know what to... Yeah, this does say fantasy novel, but I just wouldn't call it that. So I don't know. If you're listening to this, like, don't think of fantasy novel as in like dragons, elves, fairies kind of vibe. It's not that at all. It's set in a real human world with a small amount of like... I just like to call it like otherworldly elements or like outworldly elements. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways.
And something in question 2 that we're going to get into is that there are parts of this that's historically accurate too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's very, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways.
It's very based in real world with a fantastical element, I would say.
But don't think too out there. If you're not into fantasy, I think you would still like this.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Let's dive in. Yeah.
If you had been in Addie's shoes in 1714 France, would you have struck the same bargain with Luke that she did? Why or why not?
Love this question. I knew this would be a question, because I feel like as you're reading it, you kind of think about that. You're like, would I have done this? I have a qualm that I want to talk about, and that is, so what I thought was interesting is at the beginning of the summary, you had read that Addie LaRue, at 23, she was supposed to be married to a widower with 3 children. I never heard of 3 children. I don't even remember that being a part. I don't know why. I can't remember that at all. I knew there was a man she was supposed to marry, but I do feel like we didn't get enough of like, I wanted a little backstory on it. I wanted to know like, why was she not excited to do it? Tell me about the man. Tell me about the kids. Tell me about why on her wedding night, because they do refer to a lot that she like made this deal on her wedding night, or like ran away from the altar, left the wedding night. I wanted more of a backstory, because I think that would help me say if I would make the same decision as her, like what position was she in? Like, I don't feel like we have a really full understanding of that. But yeah, that's kind of what I think. I think it's so hard because at the time that she made this deal, she didn't know the consequences, right? No one does. That's the whole point of this character, Luke, that like makes these deals, and he says he's in the business of souls. Yes. But it's like every deal he makes, like, there's a caveat to it, but the people don't know that when they make the deal, obviously, or else they probably wouldn't. So I feel like I would be, I don't know, I would probably make the same deal as her without realizing that there was like a consequence, really. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm looking up something. So the deal with the devil that she made is called a Faustian bargain. And I wanted to look up the definition for people that haven't heard of this before. It's where the term making a deal with the devil begins. Okay. So it is a pact whereby a person trades something of supreme moral or spiritual importance, such as their personal values or their soul, for some worldly gift.
Yeah.
That's what she did. She gave her remembrance to live forever.
Yes. So Marissa read this, but I feel like it's such a huge part. She can't write anything. She can't draw anything. She literally can't even, she gets a cut on her arm, it closes. Like, she cannot do anything, but also people don't remember her as soon as she's out of physical sight. So it's like, if you were in a restaurant and then you walked in, went to the bathroom and came back to your table, they wouldn't remember her anymore because she was out of physical sight. So it was like, that's the, I don't know, consequence that she had to face.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, too, because all of those things are saying that she can't leave a mark because she can't write down. She can't be remembered. She can't paint. She can't do anything, like, physically. But as we'll learn, she does leave a mark on the world with a different way of remembrance. Yeah. But for my answer to this question, I think that if I was in such an unhappy situation, like we find the 2 main characters of this book being in, I think that I could be persuaded to make a bargain like this.
Yeah, that's what I mean, especially with not knowing that there is consequence at all. You're just like, yeah, why wouldn't I? Like, why wouldn't I take this road that seems to be exactly what I want?
Like, why wouldn't I live forever?
Yeah.
Like why not? I want to live a fuller life, and that's what I was going to lose by marrying this widower. Right. But I'm not living a full life because I can't be remembered, but I am living a full life because I can do so much. Centuries of things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really a hard question, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that it's a gray area, and I think that's what everybody's answer is going to be. Like, of course I want to say that I would take the deal, but I know what the consequences are after reading it, so I don't want to either.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next question. We follow Addie over the course of 300 years. What setting and time period did you find most compelling? And we'll stop there, and then I'll read the second prong of this question after you answer that one.
Okay, so this is my other qualm with the book that I have with all books of this type, and this is not a hate on the book. Like, I thought it was a good book, but I have such a hard time, I've said this before, with jumping around so it's like you'd read one chapter and it's like 1952, and then you'd read the next chapter and it's 2014, and I was like so struggling. I was like, fuck, I don't know like what time. You can get it with context clues, like you can get there, but that, and then the physical location, so there was like France, and then at one point I think there was like Spain and New York City and Chicago and LA, and I was like, holy shit, like it's just a lot for my brain. So I have to be so boring and say that my favorite setting and time period was just the New York 2014, like present day in the book, only because I really liked Henry, who we haven't talked about yet. But I just really liked, I'm a sucker for like a good romance novel. I liked the romance of it all, so I think that was my favorite. And some of the other settings, like the historical time periods, I think I read it for what it was, but I didn't really think about it that much. Like I didn't really think, oh, what was going on in the world at this time? Like I really didn't. So that's probably why.
Okay. I would say that my favorite time period was the New Orleans time period.
Oh, that was cool.
When they were talking about like the house that she had and everything.
Yeah.
But I never got to, I wanted it to last longer. Like this was a situation
it was so
in which
short.
I wished that the New Orleans chapter had been a little bit longer.
Yeah,
but
to be honest with you, they could have cut out some of the France chapters for me.
They could have
put a little more in the New Orleans. I agree.
I agree. I think it was a little bit wordy in some spots when they were trying to get some of the backstory between like her and Luke building a relationship. Yeah. But I really, really, really wanted to learn more when they were talking about that 3 decades, the 30 years that her and Luke were like in a relationship. I want a book on those 30 years.
Right. I was like, for some reason I thought it was only like 10 or 12. And so when you said 30 years, I was like, what the hell? I missed something.
Know.
But the New Orleans house sounded really, really pretty when they were talking about it. So that was cool.
I would love to. I think that this book has a big opportunity to grow. I think a prequel could be written to give you that backstory of why she wanted to make this deal. I also think a timeline of just her and Luke's relationship and like those 30 years when they were living together would be really awesome. And then I think a continuation of where the story ended would also be awesome, like a sequel to this.
They left us on a cliffhanger in a sort of way. So,
I know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the New Orleans is a good one. I kind of forgot about it already just because it was so fleeting in the book.
I know, it was. Okay, so the next part of the question is, were there any real historical situations that weren't included in the book that you would have liked to have seen Addie experience? And you can just kind of think of like, I know that you said that you weren't paying too much attention to the location and the times, but we know that it started in 1714 and ends in 2014. So think of like anything in that range of time that you think would be interesting to hear her point of view on.
That's interesting. I can't think of anything really off the top of my head yet, but I did think a cool element to this story, which we haven't talked about yet, you guys, is a little bit. She was a muse. Addie was a muse for like a lot of artists. So it was really cool to like hear, like there's a young up and coming artist on the stage playing a song, and then it's like Beethoven. And it's like these insane, like huge historical artists that Addie was like either a muse for, or like she got to see them when they were really early and then all the way through their entire life. Yeah. And that does not answer the question at all, but I just thought that was really, really cool. I was like, that is awesome. It would have been interesting to see her do some newer aged stuff, like with social media and stuff like that. That would be really interesting. They honestly, now that you say that, they do have a lot of opportunity to keep going with this.
I think that this author was incredibly intelligent in writing a book with so many open-ended storylines.
That's so true.
Okay, but I think that mine would be, they talked about Addie in France, in, I think, Paris, during World War II. Yeah. And it was a time where she gets this relic from Luke. It's a ring. She can put it on and summon him at any time, basically. And she puts it on because she's being beaten in somewhere in France during World War II. I think it would have been a great opportunity for her to talk about that, like World War II time, but maybe she's stuck in a concentration camp and that's how she summons Luke. Like, I think that would have been a lot.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know. I think it would have been a cool storyline to have been included.
Yeah, I do have to say this, and I don't know if this is coming up, hopefully not, but so when I referenced all these different art pieces she was a muse for, they were included in the book, and they had pictures, which was really cool. And at the end, they had the Polaroids in the book where Henry had taken photos of her, but you couldn't see her face. And I don't know why, but I almost was disappointed when I saw her. I was like, you know what? I wish they didn't show me what she looked like. Like, even without her face, you got to see like what, like her complexion and her hair and her outfit. And I was like, no, like I had a thing in my brain and this isn't it. So anyways, this book came out in 2020. So I feel like there's still hope.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like she could totally do another one just on that note. But
okay.
Yeah, that would have been a really cool twist.
We will get into a little bit more of her being a muse, so don't worry. We'll be able to talk about it more.
Love.
Okay, so the next question, you already kind of answered this, and I think I want to give my answer first.
Yeah, you do it first.
It says, how well do you think that the dual timelines and jumps between the past and 2014 were integrated? I personally also hate books that jump between timelines, but I thought this one was done really well.
It was good.
I agree that some of the older France chapters were a little bit wordy. They weren't necessary. They were not ill-placed, but they could have been better placed in the book. And I liked the chapters that jumped back in time a lot more later in the book. Yeah. And I think the ones that were early in the book did leave me a little bit bored and wanting to get back to the normal timeline. But I think that they were integrated pretty well in the story to keep me intrigued.
I agree, actually. I always hate it just because my brain doesn't like it. Like, I just don't understand it. But I do think that she did a good job of giving us, like, she kind of just like baited us the whole time. Like, she just gave us a little bit of what we needed from the past, and then we jumped to the future and we'd see why that was important, and then it would go back and forth. And I think she did that well, at least.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next part is your time to talk about the art things and the muse. So it says, what did you think that the author was trying to say with this book about the power or role of art in storytelling?
I feel like we already answered this right at the beginning, just when you were talking about how Addie couldn't leave a physical mark on anything, but she also did. Like, the whole point of the book is that there was a book about her life that Henry wrote, but people didn't even know Henry wrote it. He didn't put his name. He didn't put his picture. He sold it blindly in an auction, and the book went out, and it was her story. So even though they were no longer together, she supposedly no longer existed, at least in Henry's mind. He didn't know what happened to her. It was still her story, and it was still out there. And whether people believe it or thought it was fake or whatever, it doesn't matter, because it was still her print. And so I think that's what she was saying with all the art. I didn't at the beginning get why the art was there. I don't know about you, but like, it took a while before I realized, oh, every single one of these art pieces is Addie the muse.
About her.
Yeah, is Addie as the muse of it. They talk a lot about her 7 freckles. So on the book cover, there's like it looks like a constellation, but really it's 7 stars, which are her 7 freckles. And in each, like, every so often, I don't know how often these art pieces are. I don't want to say like every chapter. They're not that much.
It's every part. So there's 7 parts in the book, and each
freckles.
part has, that
makes sense.
And each part has a new
piece artwork
associated with it.
Yeah. So that's what I think she was trying to say. But also, like, it took me a while. Actually, I'm flipping back now because I'm like, I want to see the first one. I don't remember it. Oh, the birds.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But that was one of my favorite parts of the book, because I just felt like that was super cool.
I agree. It was really interesting to see how she intertwined it. And I thought that there's a character that we're not going to touch too much on in this like recap, but there's a character named B, and she is like an art history major. And her thesis is that she wants to dive deep and be like, there's all of these different art pieces about this woman across many generations of time, and I think they're all about the same woman, and she wants to start like diving deep into it and write a thesis on it. And Henry is like, okay, but you're not gonna know who it is, even though I know who she is and you've met her. And it's like a whole thing. But I thought that was really, really funny and clever of the author to put in.
They could do a whole spin-off on that. Like, we didn't get to know anything about her, really. And honestly, I gotta be honest, the book didn't really make me like her particularly. I didn't dislike her, but I was just like, they didn't give us much. But I thought that piece, I wish that was a bigger part of the story, because I thought that was really cool, because by the end, she did get her proposal accepted or whatever for something. I don't know, I think it was something else, or maybe it was this. I don't know. I think it was something else. But anyways, I think that could have been cool to dive deeper into.
Yeah. Okay, number 5. Addie was so motivated to not just be remembered by individuals, but to leave a mark on history. How did she learn how to do this? This is another thing that we've been talking about. I thought I placed these well, but I knew we were going to talk about it early. So basically, she found how to be a muse, and she knew that she could be remembered in artwork because it was somebody else's hands doing
making
the work.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of cool when they went to that exhibit thing too. And when she first discovered that, I'll let you go into it if you want to, because I feel like I've answered them all first.
No, that's okay.
But that was cool.
She basically goes to this thing. It's called like the High Line, and it's like I think it was like 6 installations of art, and like it was interactive art. So they were able to go like in a room, and they were able to see something that looked like a constellation because it was holes poked in the sky, and seeing how like that art was interactive. And I think that's when Henry discovers that all of these art pieces are her as well.
Yes. And so at the part, it was so cool because she had like dipped her hand in the green paint and like put it on the wall and just went away immediately. And then Henry, I forgot about that part. That part was so in my brain. And so Henry saw it, and he could tell that it just like defeated her, just because she tries and tries and tries, but like never can make a mark. So he dipped his hand in the green paint and said, put your hand on mine and make something. And she took his hand and drew with it, and it worked. And that was the moment where she said, this is just the beginning. Like she never, in 299 years or however old she was at that point, 298 years, I don't know, she had not figured that out. And that was the first time that she figured out that she could leave a physical mark if it was someone else's hands to do the work. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and then she goes off of that, like Arika said, it was just the beginning. And when Arika had said that, the other main character, Henry, had created like a story later on after the whole switch of like deals or whatever that we're gonna get into. He creates this story, and it's because he was able to write Addie's story down for her over, like, she like orally read the story or like told the story of her life to Henry, and he was able to write it down in journals and then ended up publishing that as the book.
Yeah, that was really cool. And also, I did like that it was set in New York City. I love a book that's set in New York City. I feel like I can visualize it. I've actually been to the High Line, so it was really cool to hear that. If anyone is listening to this and doesn't know, the High Line is an old subway above ground track, and they turned it into an above ground like garden and walkway. And they do, I guess in this book, they did like a exhibition. Is that what it's called? Exhibition?
Yeah.
But they put all kinds of stuff up there. So Angela and I went when we were in New York City, and they had like different artworks up, and it is so cool. So highly recommend. But I love when it's in New York City because I was like, I can see it. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
It's so
You've been
fun.
there.
Yeah. I love it.
It seems tangible to you.
Yes. And I love it. I mean, there's never going to really be a book in Columbus, Ohio. So New York's a pretty solid one that I feel like I can get. But yeah.
Okay, so next we're getting into Henry finally, and I know he was one of my favorites too, so I wanted to make sure we talked about him. So it says, were you surprised to find that Henry had also made a bargain with Luke, or did you already suspect it? If you suspected it, what clued you in?
I suspected it. What about you?
I didn't.
You didn't? Oh, wow.
No.
I thought like I knew something had to be special about him, because why in 300 years would no one remember her except this one person? I think I kind of suspected it, but I also didn't know. I didn't have it exactly right. I didn't know exactly what it was.
What did you think it was originally? I'm curious.
I kind of think I just left it open in my mind, but I was just more, I don't want to say annoyed, but I was almost just like, can you just tell me what? Like, tell me why. Like, I just want to know so we can keep going with this. So I don't think I really came up with anything, but I wasn't surprised. I will say that.
Yeah, I didn't suspect. I suspected that he was special, like you had said.
For sure.
But I thought that it was like Luke under disguise as Henry.
Yeah, that crossed my mind as well, because they look alike, supposedly. So that also I did think about that too. Yeah.
I just thought it was Luke disguising himself, trying to trick Addie into like falling in love with him again.
Yeah.
But I would have hated the book if it was that, if I'm being honest.
And at that point, we didn't know they had ever been like in love, her and Luke.
Yeah.
So that would have been interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the biggest spoiler alert for this episode. So the reason that Henry remembers like Addie in the book is that he also made a deal with Luke, but his Luke was to be loved, and like by doing that, everybody saw what they wanted in Henry, and what Addie wanted was to be remembered. So that's why Henry remembered her.
That's actually so crazy. I didn't know that until right now. I never even put that together.
They said that in the book.
I didn't get it. It was over my head. I do feel like a lot of things in this book went over my head, and I have to be so honest. I think it's really well done, and that this woman is so smart and used such good vocabulary that I was honestly a little bit dumb for it. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh shit, I don't even know what she's saying.
There was some parts
like I was getting twisted up.
What?
But that makes so much sense. I just thought they were both part of the same like realm, so they both got it. But that makes way more sense. Duh.
That's okay.
Okay, that's cool. I love that. I'm like, wow,
that's why
awesome.
I was like, Arika, you have to get to this part. You're gonna love it. And then it went
literally never
head.
got there. I did love it though. Once Henry remembered her after stealing the book, I was like, oh, it's about to get good. Like I like this.
Yeah,
now. It was a lot better. But Henry's deal was really confusing to me for a long time because we didn't know until almost the end of the book that he had made his deal, and what he wanted was everyone to love him or to be liked or whatever. Marissa just said better than me. But his trade was that he only got it for a year, and after that year was up, he was yielding is what they were calling it, but I assume die. I don't know what it means. I think die. I don't know. Addie didn't die.
You get your I can't speak. Your soul stolen. Okay. So yes, that would mean die.
So yeah, that was really interesting, and that's all about that I have to say.
The next one is, can you relate to Henry feeling like he's not enough? And I just want to put in a little teaser for our next episode, which is going to be Girl, Be Confident, which I think this is a great question of, can you relate to that main character of feeling like you're not enough?
Absolutely. I feel like we talk about this all the time. This always for me is imposter syndrome. I'm like, why am I in this room? Why do I have this job? I'm not qualified. I'm just faking it. No one knows that I'm really an imposter and I'm lying. But it's so not true, and I won't go into it too deep because I feel like the whole next episode is going to be amazing. So everyone stay tuned and listen.
And we also have one planned for imposter syndrome in the future too, so we don't want to get too far into it, but I relate for sure. I thought it was a good question to ask. It is. Like, do you relate? And I do as well. I definitely, and this is something I'll talk about in the next episode, but I literally told Arika I think that the next episode was stupid and I had nothing to say, and she was like, let's do it. And I'm like, okay.
I was like, are you wanting to cancel the episode? She's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Do you like it? I was like, yeah, I like it.
I didn't want to cancel. I just didn't know what to say.
It's so funny because Marissa too had like great ideas about it. So you guys will see. But she had great ideas, and then she's like, wait, I don't know. I'm like, yes, we're doing it.
We'll talk about it. Okay. The next part of this question is, what do you think of the author's depiction of Henry's mental health? And I put in parentheses the storms here that they were talking about because I thought it could be a little bit like confusing in the book.
Yeah, I liked it. What was interesting is that Henry talked about doing drugs from his sister, like these pills, and they were called pink umbrellas. Yeah. And I'm assuming that was also with the storm. Yeah. You know, whatever that's called, like analogy of it all. And that they weren't actually little tiny umbrellas, but that's what I was picturing. Little tiny umbrella pills that look like umbrellas and they're pink. That's what I was picturing, but I assume it's part of that. And I liked it. I thought it was a really cool way to approach it because it wasn't like Henry has depression, Henry has anxiety. And we all use those terms and like we all know what they mean, but I feel like this was a really artistic way to illustrate it well. I liked it a lot. I
agree. I liked it a lot as well, and I think that it was really helpful. Like, it was smart because a lot of times that they would also talk about like when he was struggling, there would be a literal storm outside, but then if it wasn't storming, they would also say Henry feels a storm coming on. Yes. And I thought that was a really cool like way. It was really illustrative.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it.
I think this book would be an amazing movie.
I was thinking that if this were a movie, and this is going to sound crazy, I'd probably like it more than I liked the book.
I like it a lot, and I think it'd be a great movie.
Who would you cast as Henry and Addie?
I have no idea.
Okay, at the end I want to answer that because I want to think about it a little.
Okay, the next one is, let's talk about the ending of the novel. Were you surprised by Addie's choices, and what do you think motivated her?
Okay. Let's spoil the ending, I guess, because I feel like we haven't really talked about it. So at the end...
We're going to talk about it in the next one because the next one is, do you think she was successful in her plan?
I think I was not surprised. I kind of expected her to make the choice she made, especially when Luke had kind of like asked her, like, pick someone out of the crowd and I'll trade their soul for Henry's if that's really what you want. Yeah. And she was like, okay. And she did. She picked someone. Mm-hmm. And Luke was like, you're... literally nuts. Like you really thought that was gonna work. Like you really thought that was gonna work. And yeah, I wasn't surprised. I don't want to spoil it. So what I think motivated Addie about what she did, which we're going to talk more about, is love. I do think that is like her biggest motivator. I don't think that could even be, I mean, it could be argued, but like, obviously.
I think love and her wanting to be remembered too, because the only two people in the entire world that remember her are Luke and Henry. And so I think that at the end of the novel, I know Arika said she didn't want to spoil it, but I'm going to spoil it. She basically trades places with Henry so that he can live on, and she will now be Luke's lover forever. Like, she'll be his like love, because he's been begging her for years and years and years to love him.
He's obsessed.
He is obsessed. And so I think that she loves Henry enough to let him live, and she also will kind of like caveat this into the next question, was her plan was to only be with Luke until he was like sick of her, basically. Yeah. And she knew she could make Luke sick of her. And that was, she kind of turned back the deal with the caveat on Luke. And she was like, well, at the end, I'm going to reread this part of the summary. So on what should be the last night of Henry's life, Addie tells him that she made a new deal with Luke. She will be Luke's exclusive romantic partner for as long as he will have her. And I think that was really important. That's something that they bring out in the book, as long as he will have her. And she was like, I'm going to make this man annoyed of me, and then I can go back and find Henry. Hopefully, because she said, as long as you remember, she was like, please remember me, right? As like they were switching places at the end. And he did. He woke up the next day and remembered her.
I hope they make a second book and then it's just literally a romance novel for the whole book. I would eat that up.
I don't know if I'm a huge romance girl, but like I like romance sometimes. So I think
like a side plot.
Just because I liked this book so much, I would like to see.
You'd do it.
Yeah.
But you like the Colleen Hoovers. Those are pretty good.
Sometimes.
They just have different elements of stuff. But
I agree.
Yeah, so, okay, I don't know if you read it or not, but do we think Addie will be successful in her plan? I don't know.
I think so. I think she could annoy the heck out of Luke.
I think she could. I think she's extremely smart. She lived for 300 years of existence and did, like, amazing, cool things. I think she'll figure it out.
I do, too. And then the last part, we've already talked about this a bunch, but if you could get the author to write an additional chapter of the book or a sequel, what would you like to see happen? I think that I want to see a book and a movie and a sequel.
Yeah. I was going to say that I could maybe even see it as a show.
I agree.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the show Lucifer? I didn't end up watching it.
No, but I know
watched
the premise.
one episode, and that kind of really for no reason other than, okay, this whole time, you guys, we've been saying Luke, but it's Luc.
And it's short for Lucifer.
Yeah. So the whole time I was reading the book, I was like, Luke? Luce? Lush? I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Luke is like the easiest one to go to. But anyways, yeah, I could almost see it being a show. If I could get the author to write an additional chapter of the book or a sequel, like, I kind of just want to see them get back together, obviously, for the romance, like I said, but there are so many routes that she could go with this, I think.
Yeah, I want to hear the story of how she gets Luke to hate her and get rid of her. True. I want to hear that story,
the torture.
Too. I think that'd be so interesting. But now that we've talked about the sequel and the chapter and everything, who do you want to play them in the movie?
So this is why I got mad when they showed me her like how she looks aside from her face, is because my sister's name is Addie, and I the whole book pictured this as a redhead because my sister's a redhead and her name's Addie, and I just like romanticized in my head she's like a beautiful redhead, 7 cute little freckles. I'm like obsessed, and then she wasn't, so I feel like I'd want a redhead actress, but I didn't think about it. I'm so silly. I can't answer. I'm like,
I
Googling
think
popular actresses. I don't know who I'd want.
This is the weirdest person ever, and I feel like not weirdest person ever, but I just feel like this isn't like somebody that people would imagine. But the entire time I was reading the book, I envisioned Henry as Miles Teller.
Oh, okay, hot. I love Miles Teller. I
don't have a crush on him, but I envision that, and I'm like,
I have a crush on him.
I think that would work, right? Based off of the description.
I would want him to grow his hair out just a tiny bit to get extra curly. And then, I just Googled popular actresses. Like, how dumb.
Okay.
But the second person that comes up is Anne Hathaway. And I'm like, wait.
I think she might work. See that.
Yeah. She's gorgeous, stunning. I mean, Addie LaRue's like supposed to be in a 23-year-old's body, right? But she's 300 years old. So I don't know. And then Henry's 30 by the end, which I thought was interesting because I was just, I was just surprised. I didn't expect him to be 30. I was like, wow, that's like a man.
Yeah.
So Miles Teller could work. But anyways, okay, let's go with Miles Teller and Anne Hathaway.
Well, I think of somebody else for Addie. I don't know if it's like her personality. It's probably not her personality. It's just the way that she looks. But I think Haley Steinfeld.
Ooh.
Right?
Love. I'm trying to... Wait, can I Google ginger actresses? Because I really picture her as ginger. I picture her as ginger, but I love Anne Hathaway. Oh, Emma Stone, obviously. Like, that could be cool. But I love Haley Steinfeld.
Well, Emma Stone's also had dark hair before, so...
Yeah, I like that. I like that for her.
I think Emma Stone could play a good Addie. But I picture like Haley Steinfeld and Miles Teller. Like that's the things that I was thinking.
That, to be fully honest with you, that is a much better looking couple than what I had in my brain. Like I didn't expect them in my brain to be that cute. And now I'm like, I don't know. For Henry, I was just looking around at some brunette actors, but I don't really see it. Oh wait, actually I do totally see this. I have mine. Okay. Mine is for sure Logan Lerman.
I don't even know who that is.
You do. He's from Perks of Being a Wallflower, Percy Jackson.
Oh.
He's that guy.
Okay,
oh my God,
okay.
That's so Henry in my brain. I imagine him nerdy and like opposite of Miles Teller. But I love that.
Okay.
There you go. You guys have our cast. It's so random.
I know.
I love it. It's honestly fun. If they ever do make a movie, I'll be so intrigued to see who they pick.
I would too. Like, I feel like we did this with It Ends With Us too.
Yes,
like we were trying to say, did we agree with the people that they picked for the cast?
Right.
And like the more and more that it's been since I read the book, I agree more and more with the people that they casted for those roles. But I'm just so intrigued. Like I wish that this would become a movie or even a show. Like you said, I think that this would be a great TV show because of the different timelines. And I think that would work so perfectly in a show.
I think so too. I think it would help break it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think when I was reading it, a lot of the time I just felt overwhelmed, which is like not the book's problem, obviously my problem, but I just was like, there's so much going on. Like I didn't feel like I could really soak it up and retain as much as I could if I were like watching it slower.
I agree. Well, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I don't, honestly. I liked the book. I will say, me and Marissa was like, I feel bad that you don't like the book. I was like, we're not both gonna all like all the books.
That's true.
And also, I didn't hate the book. Like it was good. It's just not something I would have ever probably picked up on my own, which is weird because I think I had it on my to be read, whatever list. But I think that's just because I told you guys everyone listening, that I never read the freaking thing before I save a book. I'm just like, ooh, my friend read that, I'll read it. So yeah, but I'm glad we did it because it was something I never would have read. So now I got a new like perspective.
Yeah, I really liked it. I definitely would reread this, I think, in like a couple of years.
Love that
but I think that's it. Do you have a question that we should add to Spotify for this one?
Okay, I'm thinking we should do a poll because it appears that people vote way more in the polls than questions. So I'm thinking like, would you
read?
True.
Or
I was thinking, would you take the deal of living forever in trade of not being remembered?
I like that.
Like yes,
we
or
should
no.
do that.
Just a blanket yes or no. And then DM us on Instagram and give us your theories. Or like if you could make your own custom deal, what would you make?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we can come back at you guys and respond with what the caveat would be. We'll try to be the devil.
Oh, I think that'd be so fun.
That would be really fun. So DM us if you want to. But yeah, okay, I guess I'll go into my spiel. So
yes, because I suck at it.
Go ahead and follow us on Instagram. Do those things that we said. Like totally DM us. We'd love to chat about this book, especially Marissa because she was obsessed, which I love. Our Instagram is at We Run on Coffee. And if you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at werunoncoffeepodcast@gmail.com. And with all of that, that is the end of this book club. Stay tuned for the next one. Subscribe on bookclubs.com to our podcast book club.
Do you want to tell them what the next one is?
Yes, I did pick a book. I'm really excited because last year, which we were just talking about, we read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, and we all know that was my 5-star book, and I loved it, and it was so simple and cute. So I picked the next book in that series. It's not a continuation though.
Oh, okay.
It's not. It's just new characters, but it's a similar vibe. And it's called
Meet Me at the Lake.
Thank you. Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I was like, I don't actually know. I'm like scrolling really fast. Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. And that will be our June or July. I'll check. But that'll be our summer read. So I love like an easy summer read.
Yes.
Something
Me
chill.
too.
So that's it for the spiel.
We're done.
I'm Arika.
And I'm Marissa. And we run on coffee. Bye.
Bye, guys.